Hey everybody, Duke Baxter with Steve Nickerack here inside Zone Sports Academy, and we're going to talk about a 4-step video series, and we're going to talk about mastering playing time dynamics.
Yeah, in video 1 today, guys, we're going to talk about the 3 different perspectives for playing time. The coach's perspective, the parent's perspective, and then the player's perspective. And we're going to dive deep into all 3. So I'm going to kick it off first with the coach's perspective. I think early on in the season, before the season even starts, it's important that coaches have clear-cut expectations. Coaches have to talk with one another. If I'm the head coach and Duke's my assistant, we need to meet preseason and talk about the dynamic of our team. Are we going to be a win-at-all-cost team? Are we going to be a developmental team? And we have to make sure everything is sorted out prior to that first team meeting. Now, we jump into the first team meeting. We've got players, we've got parents. That's where we can talk about our expectations. That's where we can talk about our rules, our standards, and what we plan on living by throughout the season. Ask the questions, are we going to play everyone? Are we going to bat the entire lineup? Are we just going to play the best 9? Are things going to change when we go from spring ball into pool play, into playoffs, into a championship? Are there different rules and guidelines that we're going to follow where guys get repercussions for showing up late or maybe missing a practice or throwing equipment, yelling at an umpire? We have to make sure we lay those things out early on and we're clear cut with all of our expectations. And this is just my opinion here, but I think if you're coaching rec all the way up until 13U, it's easy to bat everyone, and I would encourage batting the entire lineup. I think it does a couple things. It frees you up as a coach to where you've got the lineup set, you're having free defensive replacements throughout the entire game, and then you're not worried about every inning. Did I get Johnny in? Did I get Mikey as at bat? Do I have to play so-and-so? You kind of set the lineup in advance to where everybody's getting an opportunity. Now, come playoff time, come championship game, we can always adjust. We can always call audibles and maybe bat 10 or 11, or maybe just play the best 9 defenders on the field. But those are things we want to be clear and upfront about at the start of the season. The next thing I touched on was repercussions for players doing things wrong, like showing up late or missing practice. I think this is an important one, right? If you're gonna hold somebody accountable and you're gonna bench a player, make sure you treat everybody the exact same way. All right, it's easy to bench the 10th hitter on the team or the 11th hitter on the team, but when the number 3 batter misses practice, or he's arguing with an umpire, or he's throwing equipment, we have to make sure we treat everybody the exact same way. We treat them fair, and we don't cut corners when those best players start to do things that maybe some of the bottom of the order guys don't get away with. And the last thing I'll add to the coach's perspective, we hear people say it all the time, but coaches play favorites. And I think that's 100% true. Coaches do play favorites. I have favorite players on my team. I know you have favorite players on your team. Those favorite players end up being the kids that work the hardest, that show up on time, that make eye contact, that have that we over me mentality, and they do all the little things right? So we do have favorites. It doesn't necessarily mean they're the best players on the field, but it's those players that always do the right thing, and they lead by example. Okay, guys, so remember, communicate clearly early on in the season. Be fair and hold everyone to the same standards, and don't be afraid to play favorites.
Now we're going to talk about ways that parents can help their players when it comes to playing time. The first thing is effort and attitude. You want to make sure that your player is given effort, high effort in practices. He also has a good attitude, because having a good attitude and putting in effort shows the coach that you want to be there, that you're trying to get better. So it's very important that you're given effort and you have a good attitude while you're on the field with your team. The second one, practice hard and get better. If you're not playing, guess what? Get better. You have to work harder in practice. Work on your skills in practice. Develop on those things that you need to get better at to hopefully get more playing time. Teamwork. Be a good teammate no matter how much time you're getting. If you're on the bench, be the best teammate you can be. Be a top step player. Make sure that when one of the players comes off, maybe he scores a run, you're the first one out of the dugout giving him a high five. You want to make sure you're looking at the signs. You're making sure that you're trying to help your teammates throughout the entire game. Maybe you go and you catch one of the pitchers. Maybe you warm up the left fielder. If you're not playing, there's still a role for you on the field, and those things should just show that you want to get out on the field. So those are some key parts. Player communication. Parents, it's not your responsibility to call the coach about playing time or send an email about playing time. Instead, talk to your player. Teach them how to communicate with the coach. Hey, coach, what can I do to get into the lineup? Hey, coach, what can I do to get better? Hey, coach, how can I help the team more? Those are conversations that the players need to have with the coaches. Hopefully the coach has an open door policy to where he's easy to talk to. But that's a conversation that needs to happen. Perspective. Help your players with perspective. This is a tough game, and they're not going to play every inning of every single game. So you as a parent need to be helpful when you're at home. Hey, it's not a matter of saying, hey, how come you didn't play today, Johnny? Well, Johnny doesn't know why he didn't play. Instead, say something positive. Hey, how'd the game go today? Let him talk about the game. If he's bummed out, that's fine. You can be bummed out with him. Just talk about the game. Don't try to fix the situation. There's nothing that can be fixed by you as a parent. It's going to be tough. You're going to want to fix it. You're going to want to make a call. You're going to want to send an email. But just talk to your player about it and put everything into perspective. And talk about, I love to watch you play. Oftentimes, when a player isn't playing and you go to the game, they feel even more bummed out. But realistically, you're going to the game because you're supporting the player, but you're also supporting the entire team, his buddies on the team, the other families. So make sure that when you go to the games, you're supporting everybody and everyone. It's really easy when the game's over to badmouth a coach, or I don't know why the coach did this. I don't know why he's not playing you. You're better than so-and-so. Refrain from that. Stay away from making an excuse, from complaining, from whining. That's not helping the situation either. Instead, just talk him through it. Listen to hear what he has to say, and just be supportive as much as you possibly can. So as a parent, we want to make sure that we're helping our players the best we can with teaching them how to get more playing time through effort, attitude, perspective, being a good teammate, and making sure that we always say we love watching them play.
And last but not least, the player's perspective. You know, we both have experience at multiple different levels, wearing different hats and having different roles on teams. I look back, starting with my high school career and then going into my college career, I pretty much batted third and played either shortstop or third base every single game. I was never worried about the lineup card. Then I get drafted and get to pro ball, and I was batting 7th, 8th, 9th in left field, right field, DH, first base, second base, or I was sitting the bench. Right? And that was a rude awakening for me because I hadn't really ever been a backup or a role player before. During my time in high school and college, I wasn't worried about the lineup. I showed up, with a good attitude every day, ready to work hard, and my mindset was, what can I do to help my team win? Then I get to pro ball, and it was like a constant, okay, I'm walking in the clubhouse, I want to look at the lineup card. I want to see if I'm in, right? I'm worried about where I'm at in the order. I'm worried about where I'm playing on defense. I'm worried about, how many hits am I going to get? What's my average looking like? My family's flying in this weekend, so I want to make sure I do well today so that I can play this weekend, right? I had all of these overwhelming thoughts going on, and it became just that. It became overwhelming, and it was too much. My mindset flipped from, all right, what can I do to help my team win today, to becoming very about me. And I hated that. And of course I learned it too late, like most of us do. As you get older, and now that I'm coaching, I look back and I say, the best years of my life, I was focused on we over me. I was focused on the team. I was focused on getting a runner over. I could care less about, what my numbers said or where I was playing. It was more about, what can I do to help my team win today? What can I do to be a leader for the guys on the field? And then that changed dramatically when I got to that level. And I know I'm giving a perspective of somebody that kind of did the opposite, where I was always playing early and then moved up and then wasn't playing. And I know there's a lot of listeners out there that probably aren't playing at a young age, right? But it's something that we need to learn early, that if we can put the team first and we can focus on that we over me mentality, and I show up with a good attitude and, good effort, and like Duke said, being a good teammate, and I can do those things, the rest almost kind of falls into line and works itself out. Of course, things like the batting order, your playing time, the voices from your parents and your friends and your teammates, that's all stress, right? That's all noise that we hear, and it's something that we have to try, and it's hard, but try at a young age to flush out and show up with, almost that tunnel vision of, how can I be the best version of myself today? Obviously easier said than done, but this means showing up and keeping the same attitude, whether I'm batting 8th and playing right field, or whether I'm batting 3rd and starting at shortstop, because at the end of the day, I have two options. Right, I could feel sorry for myself. I could be pointing fingers and passing blame as to, why Eli's starting ahead of me or why Coach Duke's playing shortstop. Or I could show up and say, I'm going to be the best 8-hole hitter that this team's ever seen. right? I'm going to be the best 8-hole hitter that this coach has ever put in a lineup. And now I'm going into the game with a much more positive attitude. I'm going in there ready to attack and hopefully prove somebody wrong. So players, remember, we over me mentality. What can I do to help my team win? And every single day I get to the field, I've got to dominate my role.
So make sure you watch our 4-part video series on mastering the playing time dynamics. So we'll see you next week. Go out and dominate the day.